76. It can only be said that it is worthy of being a close relative of the Thousand Hand clan, and the Uzumaki's body is also terrifyingly strong. Kushina Uzumaki is less than 20 years old now, and she is still a period of rapid growth in strength. But in addition to the seal ninjutsu that the Uzumaki clan is good at, her physical skills are also strong. After being close to Tsunade, he was able to fight against Tsunade head-on, and temporarily held Tsunade back. And he still has the strength to persuade Tsunade, let Tsunade turn his head and deal with Ron with her. Tsunade looked cold. Kushina, who told you these things? Only a few people who arrived in advance knew about the loss of the flesh and blood of Grandpa and the second Grandpa. Among them are her, Jiraiya, Sarutobi Hinazan and others, as well as several Anbi ninjas. After Ron put away his bones, many people were sold one after another. At that time, there was absolutely no Kushina, and even from the beginning to the end, Kushina did not show up. This is not a protection for the nine-tailed Tsukiri, but a restriction on her. If someone comes, he is a powerful enemy and let Jutai run out, Konoha can't bear it. It's Minato. Kushina replied, Sister Tsunade, Minato won't lie to me. It's you who was cheated by that guy, he is using you. Hakuya Minato. Tsunade repeated the name softly. The yellow flash that shines in the three battles is the most favorable competitor to the next Naruto. Could it be Hakumizu Gate? No, is it Jiraiya? Or is the old man Sarutobi Hinazan? Tsunade frowned slightly, and she thought quickly in her mind, confirming the behind-the-scenes messenger of this matter. She didn't even have any doubts about Ron. After returning to Konoha, all the high-level buildings of Konoha were there in the Naruto office. 300 concluded at that time that Konoha did not have Ron Stark, and she had never even heard of it. Later, after meeting Ron in the cemetery, no one recognized him. This shows that Ron did not grow up in Konoha since childhood, nor did he live in Konoha. How could it be Ron, who is studying Grandpa Hero trademark S-Wood exit? Moreover, Kushina's mouth, the child who knows how to escape from the wood, shows that there are really people in the village studying Grandpa's body. Damn BD. Don't let me know who it is, or I will definitely send you to see my grandpa. Tsunade's anger became more and more powerful, and she no longer showed mercy when she started. The high heels under Tsunade's feet shook cracks on the ground, and her sharp heels were called into weapons. Uzumaki Kushina's attack, facing the pained feet wearing high heels, were completely dispersed, and for a moment he was bound to his feet, not knowing what to do. I'm sorry, Sister Tsunade, then I can only defeat you first. In desperation, Kushina used the Vatra blockade to Tsunade. It was to deal with Ron before, but she didn't expect Tsunade to stop her, so she temporarily restrained most of the force. Moreover, there are only 5 pieces in number, but this time, Asanai formed the yin seal with both hands. 12 blood-red chains suddenly pierced out of the void and headed straight for Tsunade. At the end of the chain, she had a sealed curse. She couldn't let the chain penetrate her body regardless of everything, like she was dealing with Ron. So she just wanted to use the King Kong blockade, trap Tsunade, and then solve Ron. Facing the net of heaven and earth woven by chains in the air, Tsunade's right fist was wrapped in a blue chakra offie on the ground. Suddenly, the rocks on the ground turned into shrapnel shot out like shells, facing the chains that were shrouded. For a moment, the sound of ding ding dang dang continued, and countless sparks splashed on the chains. The chains swayed, revealing flaws. Kushina's face remained unchanged. She came to the river not far away with a flash of body technique. Standing on the water, quickly make seals with both hands, and at the same time, the toes mark the sealing diagram on the water surface, open the dragon and kill. She knew that the water escape could not do anything to Tsunade. The Vatra blocked and hid in the water escape and also attacked Tsunade. Tsunade's face was cold, and the blue chakra condensed on the solace of her feet, which made her feel hurt by the sky's feet when she was hit. The water dragon broke, revealing the chain inside, and Tsunade's mouth slightly raised. Yes, Kushina, there's progress. He praised his mouth, his hands were not slow, he bit his thumb and slapped the ground, the psychic slug. The huge amounts of slugs appeared in the smoke screen, blocking the chains that attacked Tsunade. When the chains touched the acid liquid that seemed to corrode everything, pungent white smoke suddenly appeared. It's not over yet, Kushina. Blocking the chain, the slug split quickly, directly limiting all the chains. Tsunade jumped high and looked towards the political and medical practitioners. At this moment, a blood-red chakra coat suddenly gushed out from Kushina, and at the same time, 3 fox tails reflected on the water. Tsunade's pupils suddenly contracted, tailed beast coat. Suddenly, she glanced at Kushina's eyes and saw a pair of vertical pupils staring at her inside. Damn it, how could it be that the tailed beast was out of control? How could the seal left by Grandma Mito was damaged? Who moved her seal? Facing Kushina, who was wearing a cloak of a bald beast, Tsunade did not dare to hold back anymore. The curse seal of Baihouse technique and the sword of the book crawled all over his body. Ron's eyes didn't blink. Is this the legendary succubus seal? Tisk, it does have a strange beauty, but unfortunately I don't Euro trademark T know what it will look like when doing business. At this moment, Tsunade also saw that the seal of the 9 tails in Kushina's body had a loophole, but she never got tired of it. In other words, the tailed beast chakra was just leaked because of the loophole, and it was still time to remedy it. As long as you complete the seal in time, it will not affect Kushina. But at this moment, Tsunade was about to take action. Suddenly, 4 red light walls enveloped the main battlefield, including Ron at the edge. 4 purple flame formation. Tsunade recognized the ninjutsu at a glance. Let the slug deal with Kushina. She stopped her movements and looked at the four corners of the four purple flame formation. This dress, Anbi? No, it's the root. Denzo's old dog. Denzo, get out of here. Tsunade shouted angrily, did you destroy the seal in Kushina's body? Tsunade, filled with anger, did not notice that a trace of smoke slowly rose from the ground, and gradually radiated into the air with a strange smell. But she had just experienced a fierce battle, her breathing was rapid, her chest kept rising and falling, and she inadvertently inhaled smoke. Kushina on the other side was even more so. She was affected by the Nine Tails, and her consciousness was fighting against Nine Tails, and she could not control her body carefully. Under the violent breathing, all the smoke around was sucked into the body. The next moment, Kushina's eyes, which were originally a little clear, suddenly became chaotic. Her own consciousness was completely in chaos, and the nine-tailed chakra rose up with a bang. The three fox tails behind him instantly turned into six, and the seventh line was slowly forming, and the body was about to be completely controlled by the nine tails. Hold your breath, the air is poisonous. Ron's reminder came from his ears. Tsunade realized that something was strange about his body. Confused thinking, easy rage, blood boils, body is red, and it becomes hotter and hotter. Tsunade, who is familiar with various medicinal herbs, instinctively realized that he had been infected with some poison. Part of it is from the Sand Village, the neurotoxins that play puppet daughter-in-law, and part of it is actually trademarked tongue medicine. Tsunade yelled angrily, old dog Denso, are you shameless? You actually poison me. It's still Tsubasa. There are nine-tailed people, Jiraki. What are you going to do? Are you rebelling? Tsunade, I'm not targeting you. Denzo appeared outside the four purple flame formation. To deal with Ron, a simple toxin, he was worried that it would not work. Only the tongue medicine, even if it is discovered, will not be fatal, but the slightest desire will reduce Ron's combat effectiveness a little. But I didn't expect that Ron was so vigilant that he was not affected. 01460210 Fila 122563581 but it doesn't matter. Ron just continued to show off his fierce iron armor. Now there is no iron armor, so he can easily grasp it. Looking at Denzo, Ron's gaze moved slightly and landed on his arm. The arm that Ron cut off before was not known, and he went back to the scene. At that time, the laser scanned the tissue around the wound and it was broken. Under normal circumstances, it is absolutely impossible to recover. Tisk tisk, it's worthy of being a world with bug-level scientists, nothing is impossible. Ron sighed and shook his head, but he was even more looking forward to his cooperation with Orochimaru. The knowledge of the three worlds integrates, I don't Euro trademark T know what surprises Orochimaru will bring to him. One-eyed swept across Ron and finally fell on Tsunade, this guy who suddenly emerged has obtained would exit by blaspheming the first Naruto. He is your enemy. Your fart. Tsunade barely suppressed the toxins in her body, opened her mouth and scolded. Ron has never lived in Konoha, how could he be? No, Tsunade, you're wrong. Denzo interrupted her, he used to be just anonymous. Otherwise, how can you explain why he entered Konoha without triggering the alarm, and he found the bodies of the two adults accurately? It is precisely because he has lived in Konoha and knows all the information and is extremely familiar to him that he can enter the cemetery without disturbing anyone. Under the influence of various toxins, my hands are now in a mess. Don't talk to me about these useless things. Give me the antidote first, and then let's talk. Denso, sorry Tsunade, we will give you an antidote when we catch Ron Stark. Now, let the nine-tailed Tsukiriki deal with this Konoha's enemy. 77. Hearing Denzo's words, Ron smiled, you mean, let Kyuuba deal with me. Really, I am amused my master. Not to mention the nine tails, even if the 10 tails are in front of him, they will have to be beaten even if they deserve it. Do you really think that the Samsara eyes are jealous? Although he cannot activate the reincarnation eye with all his strength, he has all the ability he should have. He is not as good as the six paths, but it is not much more than the Changman of the Samka eye. Nagato used the Samanarine, and it was like that something was abolished and could not do it, and then he took sildenafil. It seemed so strong that it was not good for a moment. No one would accept anyone who saw him. In fact, his body had been overdrawn long ago, and his potential was drained, and he would be useless in the future. Uchiha Madara is secondary development, from short and concise to the top, there is no room for improvement, but it is really strong. And Ron's reincarnation eye can be said to be always developing, with almost no upper limit. As long as he becomes stronger and his energy accumulates in his body, the reincarnation eye will be thicker, bigger, and harder. Moreover, he is also a Ruhi Golden Cudgel, and he is as big as he wants, and he is completely under his control. Unlike Nagato, it is difficult to control the Sama Nana if you have time to laugh, why not think about how to deal with the Kyuuba? Denzo's cold snake-like voice came. Nine-tailed Rampage, you don't have the iron armor protection around you. What else can you escape this time? Submit your life and hand over your way to obtain the wood escape. I might be able to spare your life. Ron didn't even look at him, and flashed to Tsunade, with green energy flashing in his hand and pressing it on Tsunade. In an instant, most of the toxins in Tsunade's body were suppressed by the wood escape energy. There are only a few tongue medicines, and Ron really can't do anything about it. This thing is not poison, and in general, it is not harmful to the body. After all, after entering the body, it helps to promote blood circulation and remove blood stasis, making people feel excited, but it only has some side effects, and the side effects need to be vented. If he knows ice escape, he can suppress it, but unfortunately he doesn't know it yet. In theory, the blood resistance limit can be combined, so he has to take some time to study it. He can't always use it until he wants to hate it. The toxins in the body were suppressed, and only pure restlessness was left in the body. Tsunade stared at Ron with charming eyes. If it weren't for the existence of a strong will, she would probably have pounced on Ron now. Ron, let's talk about Kushina first, her condition is quite serious. She lifted her spirits and took back her hand swimming on Ron, still worried about Kushina. However, the sound did not seem to be anxious to care, but more like teasing. "Ba." Ron slapped her head, making her gaze clear for a moment. "It's better to care about her than to care about yourself, talk less, and hold your breath." Add to suck again, are you planning to perform a human performance art in broad daylight in public? Tsunade opened her mouth and didn't say anything, but she couldn't see it and didn't know that she was at the moment. Every move, every frown and smile was full of temptation. Fortunately, Ron is now the sage moment, with a firm look on his face, and he moves away from her rosy lip. "You go to the silent barrier first and stay for a while, and leave the rest to me. Sir Tsunade, come quickly." Standing in the barrier arranged by Ron, Shinsing shouted at Tsunade. Her strength is too weak. Not to mention the battle between Tsunade and Kushina, even the 4 purple flame formation, she didn't even dare to touch it. In normal times, the strength of the supreme ninja is considered a little master. But now, cannon fodder is not considered. Just, mute at the moment hesitation, "Do you want to go out? Medicine work if I accidentally got the ton medicine, Lord Ron would definitely help me detoxify that," hiss. I don't Euro trademark T know what she thought of, her legs were unnaturally tight and moved. But after all, she was useless to go out. It is too obvious to go out now. What is the difference between giving away? A Euro trademark come in quickly, Lord Tsunade. When Lord Tsunade enters the barrier, be sure to let the medicine in, just one, I will take a sip. A Euro trademark. The thought of Ron's helping her detoxify was almost written on her face. Unfortunately, what made her regret was that Tsunade came in, but she didn't follow her medicine at all. Bai was expecting it, and his little mouth pouted slightly. Then he saw Tsunade's situation, and quickly reached out to hold it down and let Tsunade sit down. On the other side, Ron came to Kushina. "What? Do you want to use wooden escape to deal with the 9 tails? Do you think you are the first Naruto?" Shimura Danzo's cold voice came to Ron's ears, mocking him for overestimating his ability. Ron sneered, "First Naruto? You have shaved the flesh from his body, so you are not afraid that your first generation will come out and take you down one day. Danzo old dog." Tsunade cursed in the barrier. The thief called to catch the thief. "If you have the strength to accuse me, I'd better think about how to deal with the 9 tails. Definitely, if you beg me for mercy, I can save your life." Danzo's face was not changing, his heart was not beating, but the murderous intent in his one-eyed eyes could no longer be suppressed. "This damn guy, he really knows what we do in experiments." But how did he know? Neither Enbu nor Root knew him. Could it be he was the person trained by Hizawa outside? It is very likely. Only Rich Hen knows, and only Rich Hen can help to avoid his eyeliner. No wonder he could enter and exit Konoha at will, TMD, he was originally Yi's person. No wonder Sarutobi Hinazo let Tsunade seduce Ron, who has no cheap outsiders at all, no matter how you look at it, he will make a profit. As for Sarutobi Hinata, he was beaten up and his arm was cut off. Shimura Danzo thought that it was nothing more than the fact that the interests were not negotiated. That guy Sarutobi Hinata would definitely not be able to fulfill it. That's right, it's this journey. He also participated in the research on wood escape, and he might have left behind the first generation of cells, which just shows that Ron is his person. The more I think about it, the more certain he becomes, the more angry he gets in Shimura Danzo's heart. Sarutobi Hirashao 8 Ganja Road. You don't Euro trademark T let me do experiments, but you secretly study them outside. You are shameless. 0 Euro please flower sa Euro you wait for me to catch Ron Stark, return to Konoha, reveal your true face, and pull you off from the Naruto position. The position of Naruto is mine, and only Shimura Danzo is the one who truly inherited the will of fire. I am the one who is the best person to synthesis for Naruto. Just when he was thinking about the scene of wearing the Ashiki robe and becoming a Naruto, a plain chuckle came, just one 9-tailed person, do I need to find a way? Ron stood in front of Joy and looked at Kushina who had almost become a completely tailed beast. With 4 eyes facing each other, Kushina's pupils had no trace of human consciousness, and she was completely controlled by the 9 tails. Jutai grinned at Ron, when I suppress the Uzumaki I will deal with you. No need to be so troublesome. The eyes of reincarnation suddenly appeared in Ron's eyes. Looking at the familiar circles of mosquito coils, even without the magma, Jutai suddenly burst out. 6 paths of immortal eyes. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. How could you have 6 paths of immortal eyes? 0 How is it impossible? Ron looked at it with a smile, now, you choose, should you go back honestly, or should I send you back? Or, I will pull you out and imprison you in my body, so that you will never get out. You. Jutai was about to protest, but when he saw Ron's mosquito-coiled eyes, his face changed and he pouted in grievance, it's not okay for me to go back. Really? The next second, the 9-tail chakra completely disappeared and Kushina returned to her original state again. No, it was not the same. The skin on his body turned green and red. It was obvious that he was not only poisoned by Shimura Danzang, but also infected with Tsubasa. Just now, the nine-tailed chakra has been suppressed. Now, the nine-tail has completely retracted, losing its suppression, and the medicinal power has completely lost control. She is different from Tsunade. Tsunade just absorbed a little and realized something was wrong and was rescued by Ron. After the nine tails ran away, Kushina kept fighting against nine tails, resulting in no time to control her breathing. In addition, he was later influenced by the Chinese medicine and was completely at a disadvantage, so the medicinal power could not be suppressed at all. The whole person is almost completely out of control. The red pupils like agate, the forehead is covered with fine sweat, the clothes and hair behind the ears are tightly pressed against the skin. The beard teeth nibbled into the red lips, and the red rouge dizzled between the lips. This slight pain not only did not awaken Kushina, but instead made her pupils more and more confused. It seemed as if Ron had noticed it, and his rapid breathing caused his body to rise and fall violently. He left his hands and grabbed Ron's arm. Ron clamped her hands with one hand, and green energy lit up on the other. Pressing on Kushina, after a moment, he barely suppressed the toxin, but he had no choice but to the boiling blood. He knocked her out casually, shook his hand and threw it to Tsunade and the others. Ron teleported to the edge of the four purple flame formation and looked at the shocked Danzo Shimura. Grinning, "You'd better have other means to deal with me, otherwise I'll fight back." 78. Haha, you'd better get out of the four purple flame formation first. Shimura Danzo quickly put away his expression and sneered. But obviously, he didn't have much confidence in his heart by saying that. That is the legendary 6 paths of immortal eyes. How could it be true? Isn't a Euro trademark T it a legend? How could someone really have it? This is unreasonable. Although he didn't know what the ability of the 6 paths immortal eyes was, just looking at the performance of the 9 tails, he could tell. After being looked at, he was as timid as a kitten, and he didn't even have the courage to fight. You should know that it is the strongest being among the 9-tailed beasts, even the senior shadow level, cannot be defeated alone. However, Ron looked at it gently and said a word, he was scared back. Ron raised his eyebrows, really? Then I'll come out with a flash of body. Ron disappeared into the four purple flame formation. Appeared in front of Shimura Danzang, raised his foot and kicked Danzang. Danzang's old dog, are you surprised or not? You still want to trap me by breaking the barrier? Steady his body and looking at Ron in front of him, Danzo's expression could not be held back. Turning his head and shouting at the shadows, Orochimaru. What are you waiting for yet? Do you still want to implement the 7 test materials? Tisk 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 Danzo, it seems that it's time for me to re-examine our partnership. Beside the woods, Snakeballs leaned on a tree trunk. Danzo glanced at him, and his cold eyes fell on Ron again. It's all for Konoha. If Konoha can regain Wood Escape, Konoha will return to the period when he was the first generation. Ron couldn't help but interrupt. Who controls the Wood Escape? Definitely is controlled by me, and I have no rice with you, Danzang snorted coldly. Such a powerful thing as Wood Exit is definitely controlled by him, and others cannot believe it. He spent his youth for Konoha and spent his whole life on the strengthening Konoha. No one is more qualified to have everything than him. Anyway, everything is for the purpose of trapping the leaves. Ron shook his head. He saw many shameless people. This was the first time he saw such shameless people. Oh no, Nick Fury is said to be quite shameless, but he hasn't seen the other party's shameless appearance, so it's hard to compare. He looked at Orochimaru. Orochimaru, you kicked Danzo, how are we working together? Don't you want to study how to live forever? I can help you. Orochimaru's pupil suddenly stood up and he stared at Ron. What did you say? I don't care about how you know, but don't lie to me, it will cost you to lie to me. Pay a price. Ron smiled, forget it, let's talk about it again. Ron slapped his hands, the immortal body, craftsman. Weird patterns emerged from the body surface. Ron felt the surge in power, and was slightly regretful. If I had known that the immortal body had increased so much power, I would have activated it when I was afraid of it. There are too many TMD ability and don't take this seriously. On the other side, Tsunade, who was barely energetic, had her misty eyes slightly widened. That's Grandpa's immortal mode? How could Ron be? Not only her, Shimura Danzo also widened his eyes. First there was the reincarnation eye. He had heard that the legendary reincarnation eye appeared in the Hidden Village. He was very focused on the Sharingan and didn't take it seriously. He just worked with Hanzo to force a companion to death of the owner of the Samanga. Ida Euro trademark S not quite right, the Kinemura eye is really the eye of the 6 paths of immortals. And now, it is the immortal mode, or the first generation immortal mode. Who is Ron Stark visiting? How did he have these blood limits? IFA Euro A 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 His ambition for Konoha made him forget the power gap between the two for a while. Danzo's eyes suddenly burst out with a hot light, staring at Ron tightly. That way, it seemed like I was going to eat Ron. Let Ron, who was about to open thousands of hands, tighten his whole body. What is this old man? He is looking at him like this. It is said that he and Sarutobi Hinata are unclear. Don't they really have special hobbies, right? Grass. Get him first. Ron cursed in his heart, slapped his hands, and instantly thousands of hands rose up. Hold the grass. You said you knew this trick. Orochimaru screamed strangely. Summoned the big snake, turned its head toward the ground and drilled. He actually didn't even want to fight, so he ran away. Ron grinned. Since he was a future partner, he definitely had to distinguish between the primary and secondary. He almost spent all his strength, and he summoned thousands of hands. How could he not let the other party see it? One of the big Buddha's hands leaned down. He grabbed all the land where Orochimaru was located in his hand. This time he didn't even have to get into the ground. No matter how hard he drilled, it was still in Ron's palm. This scene reminded Ron of the Tathagata Buddha teased the little monkey. Unfortunately, Orochimaru is far inferior to Sun Wukong, otherwise, he would have smashed him with a blow. Inside the snake's body, feeling the uncontrolled shaking of the snake, Orochimaru smiled bitterly and came out of the snake's belly. If you can't run, don't run. Anyway, he didn't offend Ron, and Ron also said he wanted to cooperate with him. Besides, Ron wants to kill him, isn't there Tsunade? As Tsunade's mistress, if Ron really wants to kill him, he has to save his life depending on Tsunade's face. I just thought that if I want to cooperate with a guy like Ron in the future, my autonomy will probably be much smaller. Ida Euro trademark S not as confident as when working with Tuanzang. After all, Danzo's strength, his Menqing wants to kill him? He can't even kill him in his dream. Ron, he couldn't see through. Out of the snake's belly, seeing myself being grabbed by one hand, there was a hint of shock in Orochimaru's wry smile on his face. I just heard about the power of the ninja god before, but today I really feel it. Senju Hashirama's strength is nothing like that of ordinary ninjas. Is he really a shadow level? Standing on the head of Zhen Qianshao, Ron chuckled, he should be considered a super shadow. Super shadow. Orochimaru muttered, it's really appropriate to surpass shadow. Seeing that he was sent to Ron by Mushu, he was not polite and jumped directly to Juanan. I looked up and down, looked carefully and couldn't help but sigh. I'm afraid there are not many people who can stand on the hands of the legend, except me. Should I feel honored? Ron smiled and shook his head, don't belittle yourself. Maybe it won't take long to use your true thousands of hands. This is the limit of blood, so it's not that good. Halfway through speaking, Orochimaru suddenly stopped. Tu isna Euro trademark T this guy in front of me just possessing a wood escape? And he also has the same wooden escape as Shinmara Senju. You know, he didn't use this move last time he was in Konoha. Otherwise, it would take a long time to fight, and yet would have surrendered after seeing thousands of hands. Therefore, everyone thought that he just had a wooden escape, but he was far less powerful than Shinju Hashirama. It was like the wood escape boy created in his laboratory. Who knows? This time, he wasn't so shocked. Shimura Danzo wouldn't dare to attack Ron. He stared at Ron, you can really do it, so that others can also have wood escape. Ron replied to him while controlling thousands of hands and slapped Shimura Danzang's roots to death. It's not that I can do it, but I will help you with research, but the main researcher is still you. Don't you want to be immortal? Although I can't let your life be eternal, it's absolutely fine to extend your life to thousands of years. How about it, do you want to do it with me? The benefits are huge. Orochimaru looked sideways. If Tsunade wasn't there below, he would have thought Ron's orientation was abnormal. However, Ron's words still made him excited for 10 times. A €014602107 fellow 122573301 There is no need for Ron to lie to him, that is, the other party is really sure to give him 1,000 years of life. These what else should I consider? He focused his attention, okay. I promise you. Ha ha ha. Ron laughed, okay, let's talk about the cooperation situation carefully when I solve Konoha's problem. It would be strange if Shimura Danzo dared to surround him and said that Sarutobi Hinata didn't know about it. Chitailed Tsubaki Riki is Sarutobi Hinashin's heart. All of this is released. If he doesn't know 3.0, then Naruto should not do it. Mad. I was still a lighter last time. I forced me to drive Gundam and take a walk around Konoha. Ron cursed angrily, waved his hand and slapped Shimura Danzo who released his ninjutsu into a meat paste. After thousands of hands were lifted, Ron walked over, took out the scroll sealing the corpse, and put away the corpse at the root. Orochimaru shrugged as he watched the scene. He said, it was really boring to compete for the position of Naruto. Death is like a lamp extinguishing, and nothing is gone once you die. What's the use of those? Ida Euro trademark as his path that is right. Ron, who hasn't a Euro trademark T seen such a powerful one, comes to cooperate. Suddenly, he glanced at Tsunade and Kushina. As soon as he vomited his tongue, an intriguing smile appeared on his face. He said to Ron, you walk slowly, I will go back to Konoha to deal with it first, and then wait for you in yet. After saying that, before Ron replied, summoned the snake, swallowed him in one bite, and crawled into the ground and disappeared. Ron was slightly stunned, but then looked forward. I saw Tsunade and Kushina constantly rubbing against her. Ron twitched the corner of his mouth, hammered his waist twice, and walked slowly over. 79. The next day, a tent was lifted up in a cave, and Ron walked out of it. He pounded his waist, then stretched his waist hard. It's hard to be a man, but it's even harder to be a man with many women. I really didn't expect that. I realized it at a young age. As we all know, there is almost no medicine to cure the thing of tune medicine. In addition, I suck so much, so the solution can be imagined. The process must not be told by outsiders, but can only be said to be tired and happy, which means to lose your waist. He was just over 20 years old and was 30 away. Moreover, with his physique, he used his head to hit the mountain, and in the end he would only create a big hole in the mountain. However, when facing a woman, I feel from the inside out. What the ancestors said really makes sense. The body of the 28-year-old man is as crisp as hell, and he uses a sword to kill an ordinary man. Although he does not see the head fall, his bone marrow is dry in secret. Although he is still far from his bone marrow, he is always right to prepare for the future. Ron smiled and shook his head. 07, it's true that I, such a powerful extraordinary person, are going to start health. He blinked and suddenly narrowed slightly. If the space can return the corpse of a human being from the origin, then the animal should be able to do it. What if it is some kind of powerful beast? For example, the legendary demon or dragon. The demon won a Euro trademark. T mention it now. What about the dragon? A Euro trademark S nature. It would definitely be impossible without a strong waist. So, if your own space connects the heavens, maybe one day you will be connected to a world with dragons? If you want to settle for the second best, you can have a dragon, or a powerful snake, you may be able to kill it. For the sake of your own body, you must pay more attention in the future. Ron took a breath and secretly found a goal for himself. I just don't a Euro trademark. T know what are the requirements for adding vortex channels in the space. Suddenly, one was added last time, and there was no prompt for the day point. The third one appears next time. It may not be the time. Take your time, I'm still young anyway. Sir Ron, you're up. Mute greeted him, his big eyes flashing, and he dared not look directly at Ron. Inadvertently, he glanced at the slightly open tent. I don't know what I saw, but it made her even more shy for a moment. Ron nodded calmly. Well, they will come out later. Wash up first, I'll get some food. I have seen the earth moving and the mountain rocking last night. What's the point of being hiding? It can only be said that Thousand Hands and Vortex are known for their strong physical strength. Fortunately, he is also in a strong body and has learned thunder escape. Watching Ron disappear instantly, Jing Ian's expression, which could barely remain calm, became a little excited in an instant. There was a hint of expectation in excitement, and a hint of fear in fantasy. The movement was so scary. Can her little body really stand it? A buzz. A sudden noise came from the tent. Jing Ian was so scared that he quickly withdrew his gaze and pretended to look at the Chow Yang in the distance, looking intoxicated. Marvel World, Ron as usual, let Zhou Wei order food. I started to check what happened recently. By the way, reply to the message on your phone. Most of them are Gwen's. Tell him that some criminals have been hit recently, and there are some suspicions that extraordinary people have appeared. Definitely, the most important thing is to express her longing for Ron. Very straightforward, bold, and invited Ron. When Ron finished his work, he hoped that the two would meet again. As for what to do when they meet, it would be self-evident. The warm love made Ron's mouth slightly raise. After reading all in detail, I looked at other information. Tony sent him about mutant school. Because of Tony and others, Stryker's plunder of Xavier's genius school failed. Naturally, Charles's brainwave strength device was not taken away. Not only that, he was taken back by S.H.I.E.L.D. and kept it secretly. Judging from Nick Fury's appearance, I'm afraid Charles will need his permission to use it in the future. In his words, this thing is too dangerous and must be supervised. Well, it fits Nick Fury's personality very well. In addition, Ron's duplication, S.H.I.E.L.D., supports this matter 100%. It can be said that S.H.I.E.L.D. and Hydra reached a unified unity, and almost no one could break the Snake Shield detective. Therefore, although Charles was arrested, Stryker's plan went bankrupt. Also be ready to face mutants' attack. Finally, there is the message of a Pierce a Euro trademark, which describes the Xavier incident in its original form. And talked about the serum, and Nick Fury was likely to come to him. And finally, Pierce said that he found the person suspected of instructing Winter Soldier to kill the Howards. Zora Ron's mind was filled with memories of his past lives. The most famous scientist of Hydra has made profound research on Tesseract during World War II. Even far beyond the current SHIELD. At that time, space energy weapons were developed, which were terrifying. If Captain America hadn't had the protagonist's halo, she would have died long ago. Later, due to the establishment of S.H.I.E.L.D., S.H.I.E.L.D. was joined. It's like Pierce, it's like borrowing a chicken to lay eggs. But he was too old and finally transferred his consciousness to the electronic computer. Speaking of which, it was precisely because of him that he decided to implement the Insight Plan in the 870th period. Otherwise, with their technology, all targets cannot be targeted through WeChat. Ron knew about Dr. Zora, and naturally a trademark knew it. Just inform Ron and let him know what was going on. Ron looked at the message and fell into deep thought. So that's what Howard did. He find out that he diverted his consciousness? He was retaliated by him. After a moment, he shook his head. Whatever he is, no matter what it is, he must die anyway. It's just. A man emerged in Ron's mind, Winter Soldier Bucky. Captain America's good friend is also the executor of assassinating Howard. If there is no relationship between Tony and Captain America, according to Ron's idea, he will just kill him without saying a word. Now, I'm responsible for killing Zora. Leave this question to Tony. If he plans to kill Bucky, then do it. The next second, Chuanan made a decision. As for Captain America or others from the Avengers to stop or even injure Tony, it doesn't matter, at worst he can directly blacken. He didn't believe it, and he catalyzed a bunch of extraordinary people, but he couldn't kill a murderer. If a person fights for a breath, he is not as good as he can. What's the point of living? 80. Because of the incident at Xavier Genius School, the Avengers have almost completed their mission. Nick Fury took the opportunity and called them all back. Banner, Black Widow, Hawkeye, Captain America, Tony, plus John Wick, who was arranged by Ron to Tony. Mutant wasn't there. Nick Fury couldn't believe them. When discussing things, definitely only core members should be there. When you want to perform tasks, you can just bring Mutant. There was no way. He also thought about letting Mutant join the Avengers, but he wouldn't do it. Hawkeye frowned at Nick Fury's narrative. Colonel Stryker? Military people? Is it appropriate for us to participate? Captain America looked righteous. We should stop it. If the news is correct, he has caught Charles afterwards. If the brainwave strength device falls into his hands again, the casualties he causes will be far more than nuclear bombs. For Captain America, there is nothing wrong with it. The film and television image is the film and television image, which is the real world. The S.H.I.E.L.D. is not an organization of a certain country, but an Asgardian who protects the whole world. In his eyes, Mutant is also a human being. As long as the other party does not do evil, he should not be killed innocently. Not to mention Colonel America, even if he is the president, if he intends to kill countless people today, he will not stop him from doing so. Even if you kill the other party for this. Absolute belief and justice are the root of his as the core of the team. It is also the reason why the extremely arrogant Stark and the angry Hulk recognize him. Tony nodded. Fortunately, we brought the brainwave strength device back. However, in order to avoid Stryker making another identical one, I think we should act as soon as possible. I have seen X-Men's fighter that can go straight up and down, and also a strengthening device that can allow the power of the mind to cover the world. Tony has a new understanding of the hidden black technology in this world. And home, Ron who kept hitting him. He always said that he was not as good as Banner, which led to him now being unable to achieve 100% confidence in his armor. I am determined to solve the current troubles quickly, and then go to Wakantian. Create a magical armor of vibranium and adamantium integrated. Prove that Tony Stark is still the smartest person on Earth, no doubt about it. With the body of a mortal, it is better than the gods. At that time, the creation is completed, he will press Thor and Hulk to beat Ron up and show it. Who is the most awesome on Earth? Banner didn't say anything, he wasn't interested in it. Anyway, Hulk is working at that time, and he can't control Hulk and can only be an audience. What he was more interested in was that it would be better not to mess things up, let him do a good job of research, and it would be better to give him enough time to study how to control Hulk. However, just now, when Tony said he was taking action as soon as possible, he didn't know if it was an illusion, he vaguely felt that Tony glanced at him. His eyes seemed a little bad. However, when Hulk saved the other party's life during the Battle of New York, Banner didn't think much about it. It can't just hurt him. Maybe there is something to discuss with him, right? At this time, Nick Fury inadvertently glanced at John Wick, and then looked at Tony. It can't be rushed. Stark. Ron can make super soldier serum, do you know this? What? Director, is this true? Nick Fury's words shocked everyone else. He glanced at Captain America at the same time, with an inexplicable look in his eyes. Except for Nick Fury, Tony, and John Wick, the follow-up of the Lizardman incident is still unclear. I only know that some time ago, another extraordinary incident occurred in New York, but it was resolved. It was still solved by Tony's younger brother who had been demented for 20 years. Later, it was the attack on Malibu, which was also resolved by Ron. This surprised them very much, thinking that they would have another companion. However, when I came back this time, I only saw a strange guy, not Ron. However, they didn't ask much. Anyway, if they could appear here, it means they were their own people. But now, can Ron make super soldier serum? How this doesn't shock them? You know, among the Avengers, Natasha Romanoff and Hawkeye are still ordinary people. It's just standing at the peak of ordinary people. It would be fine if you don't trademark T have the chance to become an extraordinary person, but how can you bear it if you have the chance? The two stared at Nick Fury without saying anything, but the meaning was expressed very clearly. Nick Fury didn't explain, and still looked at Tony. Tony thought for a while and nodded, yes, but it's not a super soldier serum, it's a suspected animal serum. He glanced at John Wick and continued, you've seen the serum situation. I don't need to mention the specific details. You should know. As for whether it is suitable for others, I don't know. Tony's words did not dispel Nick Fury's idea. He is very clear whether it is suitable or not. Grant Ward is a living example. Nick Fury spoke directly. Stark, where is Ron now? Can you get some serum from Ron? Tony shook his head. I don't know where Ron is, he often disappears for several days, and he is not sure when he will come back. Upon hearing this, everyone's eyes showed a feeling of treasure. Money is good. But not much, after all, when Ron comes back, they still have hope. At this moment, Tony suddenly looked moved. He raised his hand and pressed the button on his glasses, and a projection appeared in the next second. Everyone was stunned. When they saw the projection clearly, they were immediately overjoyed. Ron Stark. A hint of joy flashed in Nick Fury's eyes. He really wanted to do whatever he wanted. Just discussed Ron, and within a few seconds, Ron appeared, which is great. However, before he could be happy for a long time, Ron's words came out of the projection, which made him panic. Tony, I have a message here to tell you. Ron's voice came out. Howard and the others were not killed in a car accident, they were assassinated. And, I've confirmed the murderer. Tony's pupils were shocked. What did you say? 81. What you said is true. Tony's eyes were covered in blood, staring at Ron tightly. Ron nodded. Really, I've set my goal. Who is it? Tony clenched his teeth and squeezed out an angry growl from his teeth. Sergeant Bucky Barnes. Ron spit out a name that changed his expression from his mouth. A Bucky? A Captain Rogersa trademark teammate? A no. Didn't he die decades ago? Aaron Stark, are you sure a trademark S really Bucky Barnes? Nick Fury swept through Tony and Captain America and asked at Ron. He couldn't believe the news was true. If it is true, then it would be too much for Farkey. Captain America's good friend killed Iron Man's parents, and was also Ron's adoptive parents. If this was true, he would have no way of unimagining what Xiaoyuta would become. Not only is it upside down, but it also falls apart. Others didn't expect this at all, and were immersed in the shock of the old man decades ago. Captain America couldn't wait to ask, it's really Bucky? He's not dead. He suddenly made 550 sounds, and his anxious words made Hui-Chi slightly stunned. Then he narrowed his eyes and glanced at Captain America, without saying anything. Then look at Ron again. No matter what, it would be enough for his brother to always stand on his side. Ron ignored Captain America. No matter how famous it is, superhero, it has nothing to do with him. His eyes were on Tony and he noticed Tony's expression. Tony, according to my investigation, Bucky Barnes was physically experimented by Hydra after his first arrest. It's suspected to be an experiment with super soldier serum. So, after falling off the cliff in that operation, he did not die, but lost an arm and was taken away by the Hydra people. Wait. Are you talking about Hydra? Captain America looked confused and couldn't help but interrupt. He remembered correctly. Before he was frozen, he had already solved Hydra. All Hydra plans were destroyed by him, and even the leader Red Skull was suspected to have died in Tesseract's rampage. Where did Hydra come from? Ron glanced at him lightly, his eyes turned back to Tony, and he explained when he saw Tony was also confused. Red Skull is just a leader of Hydra. A leader a euro. Ron Stark. What do you mean? Hydra still exists. And there are several leaders. Captain America was shocked, and even Nick Fury's face changed slightly. Over the past few decades, there have been countless big file-size small events in the world, but all of them have been resolved. They never thought about whether there was a man behind the scenes to control it. Now I think about it, if Hydra exists, with their crazy beliefs, they have not been discovered for so many years. I'm afraid I'm planning some conspiracy. If I don't make a sound, it's all. One sound will be a big shocking event. I don't know a few leaders, but they do exist. Ron nodded slightly. After Bucky Barnes was rescued by Hydra, he made a second transformation based on the first transformation. The physical fitness is not inferior to Roger's, and the broken arm is fitted with metal arms. Metal arm? Natasha Romanoff's eyes suddenly flashed slightly, and she thought of an enemy she encountered while carrying out a mission a few years ago. Strong body, top fighting skills. She almost died in that mission, at the hands of the other party. What evidence do you have to prove that it is Sergeant Barnes? I don't need evidence, nor do I need to prove it to you. Ron glanced at Natasha Romanoff, and then swept through the others. Since then, Bucky Barnes has become Hydra's weapon, brainwashed by strength, killing the blocker for Hydra. Howard is one of those who have killed countless Hydra enemies over the decades. Ron looked at Tony. I was going to do it myself, but I know you have a good relationship with Rogers. So, I'll tell you the news and let you decide. No matter how you choose, I'll stand by your side. Ron's words warmed Tony's heart. He brought the attitude that Captain America and others just now to his heart and made him completely refreshed. Before he could say he wanted to attack Bucky Barnes, Nick Fury, Captain America, and others, something was slightly wrong when he looked at him. If you really plan to avenge your parents, the result can be imagined. I'm afraid that among the Avengers, except for Banner, an irrelevant person, everyone will stand opposite him. He knew that he had an incompetent personality, but after experiencing a life-and-death battle, he thought that they were already comrades in arms and friends. But when others, after getting the news and making a choice without hesitation, Tony realized that he was too naive. This scene naturally fell on Ron's eye minister. He looked slightly cold. Tony, sometimes you don't have to join an organization formed by others, what do you think? Tony swept over Captain America and others, sneering on his face. you're right. We can definitely form our own team, and it's not suitable for me here. Tony. Nick Fury panicked. NM is the Avenger who depends on Tony. If Captain America is the spiritual pillar, then Tony is the reality pillar. Every time he couldn't apply for money from the superiors, Tony put it on. Not to mention, apart from money, Tony is not a top scientist. The armor created by one person is comparable to nearly 1/3 of the Avengers. The other 2/3 are definitely Hulk and Thor. Thor is not always on Earth, so Tony is even more important. Especially now, Ron can still make super serum. Tony turned his head and looked at Nick Fury. What are you going to say? Nick Fury said quickly, Ron said just now that Sergeant Barnes was controlled. We can completely solve the person who controls him. That is the culprit. Seeing that Tony's expression remained unchanged, Nick Fury quickly changed his voice. Tony glanced around. I can stay in the Avengers, but I have a request. If things are true and he really killed my parents, then if I ask him to pay the blood debt, you can't stop it. A euro. There was silence. With a breath, Tony waved his hand. John, we are. It's time to go back and seek revenge for your enemies. 82. Tony. Captain America was about to reach out and hold him, but John Wick raised his hand to stop him. Tony paused slightly and looked at Captain America. Oh, by the way, if you want to protect the murderer who killed my father, remember to return the shield he created. You are not worthy of it. Captain America breathed stagnant and didn't know what to say. On one hand, he is his good friend, and on the other hand, his old friend's son, and his current friend. Finally, he slowly took off shield from behind. Sorry, Tony, I. John Wick took the shield for Tony and held it in his hand. Tony's face remained unchanged, and this scene was intended for him. He looked at Banner. Dr. Banner, I invited you to join the Avengers. Now, I invite you again to join my team. With you, me, Ron, the three of us are likely to help you solve Hulk's problem. Do you want to join us? He didn't say much about Ron's secret, that was the core, only he could know, even Happy and Pepper, he didn't tell him. Banner is different from others, and other Avengers have long been labeled as Nick Fury. Only Banner, because of Hulk's existence, is independent of SHIELD. With Nick Fury's character, if he really wants to kill Bucky Barnes, he will definitely fool Banner to stop him. He didn't want the last friendship between the two to be destroyed and in the battle. Banner looked entangled. He was really not good at dealing with this situation. Tony said lightly, they value Hulk, and I value you. If you think about it, you can contact me. Banner clenched his hands and rubbed them. Wait, Tony, I'll be with you. Nick Fury opened his mouth and finally sighed. Watching the three of them leave, their eyes falling on the remaining people. His Avengers team, no more. Everything is spicy. Mr. Stark. Outside the office, Tony and the other two were about to leave when they were suddenly called out. Rumlow smiled and nodded. Mr. Stark, Chief Pierce wants to talk to you. Tony raised his eyebrows slightly. Tell me about it. Yes, he was waiting for you in the office, saying that Mr. Ron Stark had information and let him tell you. Ron? Tony thought about it, but did not refuse. Rumlow glanced at the door of Nick Fury's office and led Tony. But after turning around, the smile on his face became stronger. Just now, ERS suddenly called him to throw him away. Then he was arranged to call Tony Stark. What else did Ron Stark let? This shocked him. He has won over Ron, is he going to win over Tony again now? No, S.H.I.E.L.D is Hydras, and the Avengers are also Hydras, right? It turns out that without implementing insight plans, how can we not play the unified world? He could hardly imagine if Tony was also called their people. One is responsible for making super soldier serums, and the other is responsible for making robot armor. It is invincible in the sea, land, and air. They can develop directly into the universe. Soon, the two arrived at the office of Pierce Trademark. After Tony entered, Rumlow closed the door and waited outside with Banner, John Wick. Pierce, I have nothing to say about S.H.I.E.L.D unless you can hand over the area that killed my parents. After entering the door, Tony didn't even sit down, with a cold face. Pierce Trademark smiled hoarsely. Pierce? Tony, see who I am. After the words fell, ERS instantly turned into Ron. Tony's eyes widened in shock. You, not me. Mom messed with Farkey. This trademark my brother? Ron, you hide too deeply. S.H.I.E.L.D definitely is a wooden duplication. After Ron finished talking to Tony, he teleported to SHIELD. A wooden duplication was redivided, replacing the original one. Naturally, there is no need to say, Pierce Trademark to know what to do. Since you plan to form your own team of extraordinary people, you should make use of the plot's foresight. The Avenger is the Avenger, and S.H.I.E.L.D is SHIELD. He intends to use Pierce Trademark to strip part of S.H.I.E.L.D from Nick Fury. To put it bluntly, it is to strip Hydra out. There are other Hydras, such as Wolfgang von Strack, who is using the mind to create the extraordinary. Although there has been no results for the time being, he later created two bug-level extraordinary people. Scarlet Witch Wanda, Fast and Skinny Time. As for the hatred of Stark, this is too simple. They belong to Yes because they don't know who the direct murderer is. Therefore, the broken hatred of the family is a strange combination of the sword. No. To be precise, Stark is just a forging knife. The one who sells the knife is Obadiah Stan, who has already stepped down. The one who uses a knife is a force-tight cloth molecule. Their family was accidentally injured by terrorists holding a knife forged by Tony. It's okay to say it's completely okay, it's just that I'm very sympathetic and willing to make up for it. After taking down the brother and sister, it doesn't matter what else. There is duplication in, Tony left happy, right John Wick, enough to deal with most of the situation in the Marvel world. Seeing this, Ron returned to the ninja world with confidence. €A please flower saw €0 as soon as he appeared, a little white fist hit his face. Ron grabbed it with his backhand, turned around and the attacker lay on his thigh. Then, there is a meal of meat rolls. Ah! Let go! Let me go! BD! The woman screamed loudly, trying to resist, but it seemed as if she had sniffed the 10-cent soft sticky stick. As soon as my hand was supported, I wanted to straighten my body hard, but it slipped down unnaturally. When Ron grabbed it in his hand, he saw clearly who the other party was. Slap slap 2 times, are you still making trouble? Uzumaki Kushina raised her head and gritted her teeth, UBD, I'm going to kill you. The words are fierce, but there is no murderous intention at all. He lowered his head powerlessly, and under his shameful and angry eyes, he was extremely complicated in his heart. Especially when I think of the scene called a Euro trademark last night. Ron gently used his hand and helped her up. Okay, I'll have dinner, I'll finish it first. Upon hearing this, Jing Ian's eyes widened. She has been looking forward to this since last time. After eating Ron's food, it feels unpalatable to eat anything in the ninja world. In her words, Lord Ron's food is just to enjoy, and the rest? That's for living. Yes, 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 Kushina, let's have a meal first. Let's tell you, Lord Ron's food is delicious. The silent voice reminded Kushina that there was someone around her. Especially, Tsunade, a comrade in the same trench, suddenly blushed. However, I have lived with Tsunade for many years since I was a child, and my personality is like Tsunade and carefree. It will soon recover as before, at least on the surface it seems. Humph. Delicious? How delicious can it be? I picked up the chopsticks and just took the first bite, I was stunned. Then, he fell into silence, and the speed of picking up food was getting faster and faster. Feeling Ron's gaze on her side, Kushina's movement stagnated, and then the speed of eating was a little faster. He said fiercely in his heart, look, what I do. Good, what is the food? I will eat it every day in the future. UBD, you are poor. But she didn't notice that at the moment, she forgot both Tsunade and Shizuan, and only focused on Ron. But Tsunade looked at her with a complicated face. Then he looked at Ron and sighed secretly. The food made by the top chef is now like chewing wax in her mouth. After taking a few bites casually, I picked up the wine on the table and found half a bottle of wine. It seemed that I could only know how to eat silently, my big eyes blinked, and with my hair covering it, my eyes kept sweeping across the 3 of them. The complex expression on his face was both excited and expectant. Finally, my little face turned red, as if I was drinking. 83. Ron, are you really going to trouble Konoha? Tsunade glanced at Kushina and spoke carefully, trying to get away with it. Ron, what did you call me? Tsunade frowned, Master what? Master? Not, you, me, he? You guys are having such a lot of fun? Even though his mood was extremely complicated at this moment, Kushina couldn't help but twitch the corners of her mouth. But after a few seconds of shock, his expression became quiet again. Konoha, Hawafeng Mizuno. After the Third Ninja World War, she will marry Natsuki Mizuno. The result is now Euro. She dared not think about what the scene would be after returning to Konoha. Even, she dared not return to Konoha now. What do you mean to cause trouble for Konoha? Ron was not satisfied with Tsunade's question. I want to go to Konoha well and find Orochimaru to cooperate. I was ambushed halfway. Do you think I was asking for trouble for Konoha? July 17. Tsunade was glared by Ron and his head was immediately lowered. However, worried about Konoha, she couldn't help but mutter, are you okay? And Shu killed all the enemies. Ron laughed, if I don't have the ability and I'm killed by him, I deserve it. And I am so good that he deserves to kill him, but that doesn't mean that my anger will disappear, nor does it mean that those who deserve to be punished will be punished. Tsunade asked back, you have killed Danzo, who else will be punished? Saruto Hinashao. Ron said lightly. Old man. Tsunade was shocked, what's wrong with the old man? Ron looked ahead, a village gradually appeared in the cause of vision. As a Naruto, he would not be unaware of it as a Naruto. He wouldn't be unclear about Danzo's big move. Tsunade defended, that's because he was blinded. Ron laughed, if you can be blinded to this level, then don't be like him, Naruto. Don't underestimate Sarutobi Hinashin, the big file-size small thing that happened to Konoha is nothing he doesn't know about. Tsunade shook her head, no, you don't know. In Konoha, Danzo has a lot of power. He does a lot of things, even Tsunan doesn't know. Ron turned to look at her, if it's really what you said, then Naruto is Danzo, not Sarutobi Hinako. Kushina also spoke, no, in Konoha, Lord Naruto has no choice but to use Danzo. Everyone is very good at Naruto. Many times Danzo has to attack me. It was stopped by Naruto, otherwise I would be caught at the root. Ron, the country of Uzumaki was attacked, and he knew that the attacker was suspected to have roots for the seal ninjutsu of Uzumaki. When you were a kid, you sneak in and want to catch your enemy village ninja. He deliberately put it in. In order to let Hatsuki Mizuno save you, the hero saves Beauty, and let you form a bond with Hatsuki Mizuno. In this way, the nine-tailed Tsubaki Riki will become Konoha's weapon like Uzumaki Mito. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Kushina shouted excitedly. If this is true, then would Nayuro trademark T her previous experience be manipulated by others, and her life is all fake? She can't accept it. Ron was too lazy to explain and continued, I remember Kato's magic trick. The soul leaves the body and kills countless people. In theory, when using the magic technique, you should be in the rear of your side, with a hidden position and a companion guarding you. However, he was attacked in his own camp. As far as I know, if Kato is dead, he should be the king of strong competitors in the position of Naruto. And those who have ability and those who are qualified to compete for Naruto include Danzo, Orochimaru, Tsunade, and Haki Sakuroshi. Ignoring Tsunade, who often wanted to talk, Ron continued. It's interesting that none of you three Naruto's direct descendants died, and the other two were dead. Those who are still dead are incredible and incredible. Tsunade was extremely complicated. She knew what Ron said made sense, but she couldn't believe it, let alone think deeply. She could only make a fuss. At that time, the old man was still strong, what did it have to do with competing with Naruto? Besides, the yellow flash wave Feng Mizuno is not weak, and it is also a strong competitor to the fourth generation of Naruto. When Kushina heard Tsunade mentioning Hakufuku Mizuno, she looked complicated. Ron looked at Tsunade, World War II in the ninja world, Hatsuki Mizuno is still a child. If Kato wants to be Naruto, your granddaughter, the first and second generation, will definitely support you. Guess, who will be the last 4 generations in this case? It will be Kato's broken. Shizun and Kushina had the same affirmation in their minds. Tsunade is still a disciple of the 3rd generation, and the buff is full. It can be said that as long as Kato is dead and Tsunade still does not fight, the 4th generation of Naruto must be him. Ron laughed, Yuroiso, he Euro trademark S dead. After he died, you were hit hard and noticed by many people. You are discouraged and will definitely not compete for the position of Naruto. But, a Kato cut-off death is not enough, so your brother, Rosuke, is dead too. The result is perfect, the 2 most favorable Naruto competitors are gone. And what is even more unexpected is that Yashiki is Orochimaru's disciple. The death of Rose Tree made Orochimaru see the fragility of life, no longer compete for the position of Naruto, and devoted himself to studying the method of immortality. In addition to Haki Sakumo's death and Jiraiya's personality, there is definitely no competition for Naruto. In this way, all the people who can compete for Naruto will be gone. Do you think it's a coincidence? Ron's series of words revealed countless conspiracies and tricks, which made Jing-Ian shudder. Why is this different from Konoha in her heart? Is human heart so dark? It's so dark that it covers the sky. Sir Ron, you mean, all this is done by Danzo? Ron raised his eyebrows, I didn't say this, I just said something strange. Oh by the way, Konoha is still studying wood escape, that is, the 1st generation of cells. As a result, countless people with Thousand Hands bloodlines disappeared for no reason. As for where I went, I don't know, anyway, there are no one. The Qian Shao clan was inexplicably exterminated in the village he created. Are you interested? There is also a rope tree. After being blown to death, the internal organs were taken out. What kind of enemy will they take the internal organs after killing dead man? 01460210 Fila 122583471 A person who studies would escape. This time, the 3 of them didn't have to think, and the answer was almost right at their mouths. Ron's words shocked them over and over again. It is hard to see 4.7 letters, this is Konoha, this is where they live. Ida Euro trademark S okay to be silent, but I just feel that the adult world is so dirty. Especially the group of people surrounding Naruto, their hearts were the dirtiest. And Kushina and Tsunade were completely silent. It was still early to collapse, but the disappointment with Konoha was not far away. Definitely, it has nothing to do with Ron, and to him, it doesn't matter what they think. Let me tell them clearly that he is not in the ninja world in the future and needs 2 people who can guard the family. If he was so devoted to Konoha, he wouldn't mind changing to someone else. In his heart, only 1.5 can be regarded as worth it. Gwen counts 1, Elena counts half. Whether it's a scumbag or not responsible, he doesn't care anyway. Everything is marked on the first contact. When the 3 girls were silent, the 4 of them had already arrived outside Konoha village. 84. Ron took out the seal scroll, found the flesh and blood of the dots, and took out another Baiju. Ninjutsu reincarnation of the filthy land. The ground shook and a coffin emerged from the ground. A Euro bang, a Euro trademark. The coffin opened and Shimura Danzo walked out of it. I'm Ron Stark? Reincarnation of the filthy land. Danzo is familiar with all the forbidden techniques of Konoha, including the reincarnation of the filthy land. As soon as he came out, he recognized his situation. I was shocked. Who is this guy? Why is Konoha's forbidden technique? He knows all of them? However, when he died, even his soul was controlled by Ron. Naturally, no one would give him an answer. Ignoring the surprise of Danzo and the 3 girls, Ron ordered, go and let Sarutobi Hero come out and die. Tell him that he is dead, I will let Konoha go. Tsunade showed anxiety, but her mouth opened again and again, but she still didn't say anything in the end. Watching Denzo walk towards the village, ignoring the guards at the entrance of the village, heading straight to the newly built Naruto building. The guards didn't dare to stop him. This was indeed Lord Denzo, but his dark eyes and cracked skin? I dare not ask at all. I was afraid that if I asked what I shouldn't have asked, I turned my head and was taken to the route. There are no 07 people along the way, but none of them dare to ask about it. There were even those who stayed at the root of the village. After seeing Danzang, they came up to report their work. However, Denzo didn't say anything, just nodded, and then went straight to the Naruto building. Everyone was stunned after seeing his performance. But the Pot Shadow group is hidden and deeply rooted in people's hearts. Even though it felt wrong, no one came forward to ask. Some people also noticed the abnormality and followed without a trace, all the way to the Naruto building. Is Shimura Denzo unable to speak? Definitely not. He is just limited by Ron's actions, not by his thoughts. He could tell everyone that Ron had come to the door, but he didn't say it. Denzo, TMD. I am dead and can't a Euro trademark T be Naruto, so don't a Euro trademark T even think about being a Naruto. After being shocked just now, Denzo figured it out. He is now in the state of reincarnation of the filthy land, completely obeying Ron and will not betray him. What does this mean? It represents absolute loyalty. It can be said that there is no one in the entire ninja world who can trust him and Ron. He now wishes Ron beat Konoha down. As for whether Konoha will be destroyed? Impossible. It's impossible. Ron is going to cooperate with Orochimaru, Konoha will definitely not be destroyed. Even if it is destroyed, people can still be rebuilt while alive. And looking at Ron's appearance from time to time, who will take care of Konoha? You must find a spokesperson. Then who is more suitable than him? Maybe Ron saw that he was obedient and after leaving, Konoha would let him take responsibility. Although this does not have the name of Naruto, it also has the reality of Naruto. This can also be regarded as a way to make him happy and satisfied. As for how many people will die during this period? He only said one thing, it's all for Konoha. In Konoha, there are not many people who know that the filthy land are reincarnated. After the study of this access control operation, Senju Tobira was sealed by Senju Hashirama. Therefore, the ones who know are the disciples of Tobirama Senju. When Denzo returned, coupled with the panic outside, Sarutobi Hiruzanai noticed it, but he did not go down to check it out in person. He is the Hokage, and Denzo is just the Hokage Euro trademark S assistant. How could he say he welcomed Denzo? Moreover, he didn't need to move at all. Xiaoharu and Mito Minion would go on for him. Seeing him sitting motionless, sure enough, the two of them looked at each other, said let's go down and take a look, and then got up and left. As Konoha F4, they all know what Denzo has done. The nine-tailed talents, Jinchuriki, took them away. If they hadn't seen Sarutobi Hinashin still be so steady, they would have jumped long ago. At the moment when I heard that Danzang was back, I couldn't a Euro trademark T sit still. Sarutobi Hizaki sucked his puddle and slowly spit out the smoke. In the smoke, the expression was relaxed. I can't hold back my breath, but the teacher has the vision and handed the leaves to me. Since Denzo is back, doesn't a Euro trademark T that prove that he won? Since you win, why are you still impatient? What? Just came back alone? Nine tails are gone? Haha, there are gains and losses. For the sake of wood exit and the power of the huge amounts of iron armor, it is acceptable to lose points in a nine-tailed man, the throne is a big deal. Not to mention wooden escape, just that iron armor is no weaker than the nine-tailed one. Moreover, he had not discovered the weakness of the Iron Man. Besides, he knew in his heart that Orochimaru returned yesterday. The two shadow-level combat powers were not lost. Next, Konoha will welcome back to the wood exit, and it would be nice if he didn't laugh out loud. Definitely, if Denzo doesn't come back, what does it have to do with him? He is Naruto, and he is doing it right. Denzo attacks Ron with him on his back, and he will only punish Denzo severely and then make up for Ron. However, Denzo is dead, so how to punish him severely? If you use a dead man, you still know his countless stains in exchange for a powerful combat power. Anyway, he is a winner regardless of success or not. I've finished it. After sucking 2 puffs of cigarettes, Sarutobi Hinashin shook his head. This is called political mind. Konoha is destined to be in my hands and return to the strongest ninja world again. He subconsciously glanced at the missing arm, and suddenly a cold light flashed in his eyes. When the wood escape is obtained, you will be responsible for your actions. Wow. Suddenly, outside the building, a chaotic slam came. Sarutobi Hikaru frowned, and the noise outside the Naruto building was noisy. What kind of style? Suddenly a Euro bang. A figure jumped up from downstairs, broke through the glass of Naruto's office and broke in. Who? Danzang, you? Reincarnation of the filthy land. Sarutobi Hinata was about to scold him, who was so bold. But in a blink of an eye, I found that the person who came was dressed exactly the same as that of Denzo. We must also habitually take out the rights of Naruto and suppress Denzo. The wind from Denzo broke in, blew away the smoke inside the house. It also thoroughly allowed Sarutobi Hiruzen to see Denzo's current state clearly. Forbidden technique. Reincarnation in the filthy land. Danzang was actually killed and even came out of the filthy land. Wait. Denzo is dead? Then he failed. Sarutobi Hinata's pupils contracted violently, his face full of disbelief. Bang bang bang. The door of the Naruto office 787 was pushed open and a group of men entered in a row. Among them, Anbu stood directly in front of Sarutobi Hinashin. But he was just standing and didn't dare to attack Danzo. As for the others, they rushed in, stood aside, looked at the situation in front of them, and swept through Konoha F4 from time to time, especially Danzo. Just now, Xiao-chun was downstairs and shouted reincarnation of the immortal land. Although they had almost never seen this forbidden technique and did not know the specific effect, they had heard of it vaguely. The forbidden technique developed by the second-generation Naruto Tobirama was later sealed. So, Danzang's current state is to use that forbidden technique? At this time, Danzo spoke with a sneer on his face, Ron Stark is outside the village. Wait at the entrance of the village, I'll tell you to go out and die. Danzo failed a. Ron is likely to be reincarnated in the filthy land. No matter what, he did not participate in this incident, and at most he would take his anger on him. I have to find a way to deal with it, so the problem is not shattered. Thinking of this, Sarutobi Hinako's eyes narrowed slightly, and then he looked serious. Danzang, you are the people in the village. To be honest, did you go out yesterday and provoke Ron Stark? You are doing this to provoke enemies for the village. He only took his anger on me, I recognized it. After all, I am Naruto and I am not careful. Danzo has my responsibility to provoke Ron Stark. If he wants to implicate the village, I will definitely not allow it. 85. Sarutobi Hiruzen's words made Shimura sneer. Ida trademark S just Konoha trademark S fool, oh no, Konoha is not all fools. I didn't trademark T look at the heads of the major families, but I just applauded, but in fact my expression didn't trademark T change at all. No, he was wrong again. Among the heads of the Konoha family, there are also fools, such as Uchiha Tokugaki who was wearing a round fan uniform. At this moment, he shouted with an indignation, Third Naruto. Koi is everyone's Kono yet. If there is a strong enemy attack, we will not stand by and watch. Any enemy who dares to invade Konoha has only one result, that is death. Looking at Fugaku's expression didn't seem to be fake. Danzo's mouth twitched. I really didn't expect that the Uchiha clan, who he was determined to clean up, was actually a fool. If he had known this, wouldn't he have done it long ago? Is hesitation still undecided? How many things have been delayed? Perhaps there were enough Uchiha's corpse, and the research results had already been breakthrough. Unfortunately, Ida trademark S too late to regret now. IA trademark M dead, and Ida trademark S useless to have Sharingan. Hearing Uchiha Fugaku's words, Hinata Hirata almost slapped the gossip. NM, you show your loyalty, can you not take me with you? No matter what Konoha is, it cannot be destroyed. Besides, that Ron Stark is good at wood escape, and is likely to be a descendant of the Thousand Hand clan. He is the founder of Konoha. What does the conflict between him and the current rulers have to do with me? NM has no brains. No, I have to stay away from him and don't trademark T get along with him in the future, so as not to be connected. As for Pig Deer Butterfly, Narakara directly snatched the other two and told them not to interrupt. I just said that I would let Tsunade seduce me a while ago, but this time I took the initiative to provoke me. Who knows what Sarutobi Hiruzen is playing with? Anyway, if you can't see through, you won't read it. If you can't understand, you won't do it. Stay away from it, there is absolutely nothing wrong. The three tribes advance and retreat together. Naraka had no time to explain, but the other two didn't ask. Knowing that among the three tribes, the Nara clan was very smart, and Tien stood behind Narakazura. As long as Narakazuki doesn't express his opinion, they will not say a word. The same is true for other families, all pursing their lips and looking at Sarutobi Hinasen. Uchiha Fujio looked around and his firm eyes gradually became a little confused. What's the situation? Someone came to the village, why didn't he speak? This is the disadvantage of not being in the center of power and not having allies yet. Last time at the meeting, Sarutobi Hinasen didn't call him. On the grounds of chaos in the village, he asked him to lead the guards to patrol the whole village and maintain public order. Therefore, he knew that someone was coming to make trouble, but he didn't know who it was. No one told him that Suin had escaped from being trapped. Otherwise, even if he wants to enter Konoha Core, he will measure it before he makes a statement. Sarutobi Hinako's eyes twitched slightly, and he was speechless at Uchiha Fujio. This guy is talking about this guy. Shimura Danzang sneered, okay, stop talking about it. Aaron Stark gives you a name and lets you die, and you can go out and die soon. Or else he will come into the village later and make the village a mess. Don't blame me for not reminding you. Shut up. You traitor. Uchiha Fujio turned his head and scolded. First, I attacked the bloodstains of the village, and now I will lead the way for the enemy. Shimura Danzang, you still have the face to speak. Shimura Dunzo narrowed his eyes and let out a sound from the army. I want a trademark TB quarrel with this Sha for the time being, and I will take control of Konoha. At that time, we will slaughter you Uchiha first. He looked at Sarutobi Hinazo, Hitsan, you don't want to watch Ye be destroyed, right? Sarutobi Hinazaki was shocked, what does it mean? Shimura Danzo, you will know when you go out. I can't be photographed by myself. Good brother, we should go together. He looked around, but unfortunately, he was not here either. Otherwise, slap that disgusting toad sperm to death. In this way, when he manages Konoha in the future, no one will make trouble. But it's just a matter of time. Kushina's situation, Mizuno could not bear it. If something happens to Bofeng Shuman, July will not be far away. There are some that may become obstacles, and it is best to offend Ron. It would be better to die and hand Konoha cleanly in my hands. His dark eyes swept through the people in the crowd. Everyone's hearts tightened and their backs became cold. On the other side, the north side of the wood leaf. A figure that looks like an illusion passes through the mountains and the results. 01460210 Fila 122593221 Hui? Why don't there be anyone? Uchiha Obito looked puzzled. Suddenly, he raised his hand speechlessly and slapped himself. Ba. So stupid. No one is not a good thing. I just happened to take out Lin's body quickly, and then go back quickly and find. Uchiha Obito was stunned. Wait. What's his name? Where should I find him? It's been several days since this. He should still wait for me at the base, right? If I'm not here a euro, even though he regretted it at this moment, it was too late. Even though he was extremely scared, afraid that Ron was also lying to him, he had no choice now. Lin is dead, Heiju is lying to himself, and he may even deceive Uchiha Madara too. The words of that mysterious man also proved that the infinite moon reading is fake. He has no choice but to choose to trust the other party. I hope you don't lie to me, and you must let me see Lin again. As long as you can let me see Lin, I am willing to do whatever you ask me to do, good Lise. But, if you lied to me, I will definitely kill you. Sure. Uchiha Obito clenched his fists and flew into the cemetery. He came to Nohara Lin's tombstone with a familiarity and gently stroked his hand on the tombstone. Lin, we will meet again soon, I will protect you forever. His body slowly descended, sank into the ground, and fell into the tomb. Ron if you go to the world of tomb raiders, you will be a good tomb robber. There is no need to dig a thief hole, you can go in and out as you want. When he appeared again, he obviously became much more energetic. Lin's body has been obtained, and next, we will find that person and resurrect him. Just as Uchiha Obito turned around and was about to leave, suddenly, there was a loud boom. He subconsciously turned around and looked, 000. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you are notified of future uploads. You can find the next parts in the playlist visible on the screen or on my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.